Okay. All right, I'm going to call this meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. Today is September 9th, 2025. This is Benzie County Board of Commissioners study session. Could I ask our clerk for a roll call, please?
Briggs,
Here.
Davis,
Here.
Janot,
Here.
Markey,
Here.
Nye,
Here.
Roloffs, here, Sauer,
Here.
Capel.
Very good. Please join in. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good. Please be seated. We have an agenda before us. Are there any additions?
Do we need to have the review of the fiscal year 24, 25? Never mind. I was thinking 25, 26 budget. I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion and support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have minutes before us from August 12th. For consideration.
Janot moves for approval. Markey will second.
Motion and support. Is there further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries as well. And that will bring us to our first public comment. Is there anyone who would like to speak? Everyone.
Oh, wait. But not yet.
Yeah, actually, you are one of our,
You're on our agenda.
you're on our agenda.
That's, just leave these here.
Yeah. Okay,
We'll call you up. You're
Yeah.
special.
you are on the agenda.
You have one?
Yes, really good. Okay, I'm gonna close public comment then. Do we have an HR update today?
Just one little update. We are still recruiting for various positions and also interviewing for various positions. Paramedic, EMT, animal shelter. We have one active short-term disability claim for maternity leave. They'll be back very soon. And we're still buttoning up some old work comp claims, but those are pretty much all off the books as well. Other than that, open enrollment went really well. Everyone got in there. If there was any questions, we were able to assist everybody. So now they're doing all the things in the background as far as updating anything with Priority Health or anything like that. We did have success in signing additional people up for our additional voluntary retirement plan. So that was really cool to see. We also had Aflac here and people signed up for that as well. So overall, I think it was a really good open enrollment. We did multiple sessions in both locations, and I think that got quite a few people there as well. We also encouraged some of our newer folks to really sit down with our staff or down with the benefits agents so that they had all their questions answered. So other than that, things are looking good.
Excellent. Any questions for Katie?
Katie, animal control, someone's resigned.
Yep.
And was that a management position?
Nope. Nope. It was the animal shelter attendant. She went off to another position as well as going back to school. So we're really happy for her. We received 47 applications, which is like the most we've gotten for anything in 5 years. And we did weed through those. We scheduled 6 interviews, 5 showed up. And so we're still working through that process. As you know, there's a full-time attendant and 2 part-time folks up there. We're having those conversations as to what it looks like going forward. We know the goal is to have the shelter open more and potentially on the weekends. And so Leslie and I have been trying to crunch some numbers and schedules and such to maybe do that. So we'll be coming back forward to you probably in the coming months to talk about animal control and what that looks like going forward from a staffing standpoint. But right now, we're just filling the full-time position.
Thank you.
Any questions for Katie? Okay, very good. And that brings us to our presentation today from the Crystal Lake Watershed. If I could invite you to the podium and you introduce yourself and show us what you have.
I also passed out a presentation that she sent to me. And it is on your desk.
Thank you for doing that, because I didn't. Thanks for inviting me to speak with you today. Some of you I've met at different township meetings, and a couple of you attended the annual meeting in August, and I thank you for that. We appreciate the partnership that we feel that we have with the Board of Commissioners in working toward taking care of this lake. And the lake may be the most visible part of it, but the watershed itself, which is all the land that surrounds the lake and feeds into the lake, is really our biggest concern. And so that leads me to the obstacles facing Crystal Lake on the first page. We are, this list is not complete. I ran out of room. This is a list that was presented at the annual meeting as well. But you can see from the list, zoning issues is the top one right there. It doesn't mean it's the number one issue, but it certainly is extremely important. And I'm going to ask you at a later comment to reconsider bringing all the zoning back to the county level for a specific reason. But we also are involved in microplastics testing. That's from a request. We started, we had that on our schedule. And then a constituent, a member of the watershed asked us to do it. He pointed it out again. So we have that. Actually, I think that testing has been done. We're just waiting on the results. The list is, as I said, extensive but not complete. Beulah Stormwater Project is on there. We recently made our final contribution to that project. Development for the outlet and better recreational access. I'll speak to that in a little bit. Seasonal water levels, you'll appreciate this. I got a call last year asking me at the end of the season to put more water back into the lake because people couldn't get their boats out, which, you know, there's no faucet. It's a spring-fed lake, which means whatever nature gives us is what we've got in Crystal Lake. And so we have the low levels to deal with and we've got the high levels to deal with. And that you have had a conversation, I believe, with Mike Phoebe, about, we had the similar conversation with him. So hopefully going forward, we're going to see some improvement in that. Legal issues, Sunkissed Hills. We've been asked to become involved in other legal issues, which we've declined. And I'll tell you specifically why we chose this one and have declined others. This one is about the lake. This is about the impact of the lake by that particular development and due to the, stripping of the land, the hillside and all that kind of stuff. So that creates runoff, ends up in the lake. Our concern is always about what development does to the lake. We get requests from people to block a house from being built because the neighbor doesn't like the plans. We're not the aesthetics police. We're not any kind of police. We are just watchdogs. And you can build the ugliest house you want. That's your right. We have no control over that. But issues like the cell tower and the old red barn, that was the property that was being looked at for recreational purposes, we were asked to be involved with those, but those do not impact water quality on the lake. So we are very choosy. We don't like spending that kind of money on something that doesn't align with our mission, which is to protect the watershed. So we're still involved with Sunkissed. Hopefully that one's going to be, kind of laid to rest in the next couple of months. One of the things that I just mentioned, holding local officials accountable for enforcing overlay ordinances. The most we can do is stand up at a meeting and object to the way ordinances are not being enforced. There is an overlay ordinance that covers the entire watershed, and it takes precedence over every individual township's ordinances in terms of setbacks. If our setbacks are, I shouldn't say our, because it's the Crystal Lake watershed. It doesn't belong to us, but it's because we are the same name as the watershed. It sounds like it, but the overlay ordinance protects beyond what the local townships might require for setbacks for housing on the shoreline, number of trees you can cut down, those sorts of things. And so the most we can do is protest to a township board or village board if they are not following the ordinances, because we have no enforcement capability. And so that's one of the reasons that it would be nice if there was another arm at the county level to look at all this stuff and then do the enforcement. But that's just my editorial comment for the day. We might as well go ahead and get into the bulk of my presentation. I will keep it as short as I can. first page, or the next page is education and communications. And I wanted to talk to you just for a moment about that. And you got the two newsletters that were are part of our mission, which is to educate the public. Those are quite well written and talk about they go out to the membership. And I'm going to use my my microphone for a moment and encourage you to pay $35 and join us so that you can get those, because they are very informative and they are off-season types of information that are mainly about local issues that we're addressing, like the invasive species and, you know, the zoning and all that kind of stuff. So those are really important, and those would come to you as members if you were members. The other things that we have, I just put two of them on here, two of the pamphlets that we put out that are important for new homeowners, for instance, or believe it or not, and you probably know this better than I do, but there are people who buy property up here who've never heard of a septic system. And so they have no clue that after 5 years or 3 years or renting it out after every year, they should clean it out. And that is something that of course impacts the lake. This is an old lake in terms of development, over 100 years of development. And I have seen septic systems that consisted of an old refrigerator with the door taken off and set into the ground. Yeah. So we've got septic is an issue that we're going to be looking into, just, you know, for better education and more cooperation with the health department. But we do put out these pamphlets, and if you've been in Cherry Hut or any place around the lake, you'll see them. They're pretty distinctive, most of them. We have a monthly email that goes out that keeps people up to the minute as we can. And to better ensure up to the minute, we are getting a new website, but don't look for it anytime too soon, because those things don't just you know, roll out in a day. But that needs to be available minute by minute. So we will have water level, current water levels, lake temperatures, all the scientific things that you might be interested in, but also encouraging people to be better stewards of the lake, because I don't know about you, when I moved up here, I moved from a rural setting, so I knew about septics and I knew about water quality and things like that. But a lot of people move up here from suburbs, from downstate and out of state. And when they put in a lawn that requires green in their minds, and they use the fertilizer, for instance, that's a real detriment to the lake. That encourages algae growth, those kinds of things. So these pamphlets are kind of our first step toward talking to people about how to be good stewards of the lake. The next page is just a couple of pictures. I used to do the walkabout with the kids. That is the first one. The word walkabout got covered by the picture. How about that? 2025 annual spring walkabout. That brings the 6th graders to the lake. Some of them who've never seen the lake before. It's fun, but it's kind of sad. So at least starting in 6th grade, they get to see the lake and they know that it's there. They know Bellows Park is there, all those kinds of things. The salt testing is something that our lake biologist, one of our hires, John Ransom from the Conservation District, we hired him on a part-time basis to be our lake biologist. So when we have questions, research, data to analyze, that kind of a thing, John is our guy for that. I want to move on to land use, because that one's probably the biggest one that gets noticed in the papers. And these requests, I back them 100%. These come from the head of our land use committee. We see a great need for the county to be active in zoning and planning around Crystal Lake. I'm not going to say that anybody could have foreseen a developer coming in the middle of the winter and starting a construction before applying for permits. That was a knock on everybody's head. Luckily, we had people on the North Shore who were calling us in March, asking how that big bare patch on the South Shore occurred at Sunkist. But we have 5 townships that surround Crystal Lake. You're aware of that, I'm sure. And each township has their own authority for their area, for what gets built in that area. And then it's very easy for someone to come to my township, Lake Township, and say to the supervisor, well, I heard that over in Crystal Lake Township, you're allowed to do this, or I heard that Inland Lake doesn't even care about that kind of stuff. So it becomes a pull your hair out moment when we don't know, we can't enforce, and we certainly can't go to a township, and I'm just picking townships out of a hat right now, but we can't go to a township and say, you need to enforce, we can go to them and say you need to enforce it, but we can't, we have no authority to force them to enforce it. And as Sunkist has proven, the authority doesn't necessarily result in a good result for the development, and results in lawsuits like the one we're part of right now. So we would really encourage the county board to look at some type of re-engagement on zoning on a countywide level for the safety of the watershed. And, you know, we talk about the watershed as this thing, but really it's a driver for the county and the economics of the county. Summer builds up our small businesses to the degree that it's kind of like Christmas for Frankfurt and Alberta and Beulah and all the townships, all the areas. So it has to remain. We always hear anecdotal evidence. For instance, when Swimmer's Itch was a big deal, still is a big deal. But when it really was hitting us hard a few years ago, 6 or 7 years ago, we heard from real estate agents that people were not buying in Crystal Lake. Others were selling because of Swimmer's Itch. I hate to tell them, but it's everywhere. And it's been here before. But that is something that impacts the economy. So it's really a countywide issue, even if you live out in on Homestead Road, you know, all the way out to Benzie Central. It may not seem like that's a concern of yours because it's a driver of the economy in the county, it becomes a much more important issue that we would like to see the commissioners look at in terms of zoning and enforcement. Skip down to thanking you for adding Caligo to the mapping layers for zoning and land forms. That's going to be a big boost to everybody for keeping things in perspective. And lastly, on this page, I'd like to encourage you to use this as a resource. If you have questions about what's going on in the lake, concerns, you hear things, our membership is real vocal. They let us know when they don't like, I won't even tell you how many calls we got about water levels this year. But if you're getting information that we're not getting information, or even if it is, you don't know we've gotten it or not, please let us know so that if it's something that we can help you understand or work with you to figure out or whatever in terms of the watershed, because as I said, we consider it pretty big deal. Next page starts the water quality section. I did hear a township official who shall remain nameless say, "Why are you so worried about Crystal Lake? It's so clear." Yeah, it is, because people are watching out for it. Crystal Lake, the water in Crystal Lake doesn't turn over, it turns over, I think it's between 30 and 60 years. So whatever you put into the lake today is there for 30 to 60 years, which means that it has a chance to do its damage over a long period of time. And one of the things that our membership always talks to us about is they want this lake to be here for their grandkids, for their great grandkids, and not just our membership, but the Watershed Association, the watershed writ large. It is, I tend to take a kind of Native American view to the lake. It was here before we were, and if not for us, it would be here for another 1,000,000 years. But because we are here, we have to mitigate what we do as human beings who dump waste into it and bring invasives from other lakes that tend to threaten our lake. So, you know, we're pretty concerned about it. On that particular note, if you flip over to the next page with the pictures, we are finding evidence of quagga mussels, and they are keeping the lake nice and clean, which means that they are scouring the lake. So that's not a good thing. Lake Michigan is experiencing just a terrible, terrible inundation of these quagga mussels. Most of them are coming in from St. Lawrence Seaway on boats that get dump their ballast in the lakes, and then small boats bring them from there to the various lakes. So it's a bigger problem than we can solve here in Benzonia and in Benzie County, but it's a problem that we have to deal with. So we are doing the testing for that. We've actually been able to confirm doing DNA testing. We do everything science-based for us. And we found DNA evidence of quagga mussels very deep in the lake. And we're not sure what that means yet, because once they become visible, it's probably too late to do anything much about them. The other three pictures are different types of aquatic, we call them monsters, because they can get out of hand really quickly. Here in Beulah, the Eurasian water milfoil has been treated for the last several years, and we started out with over 7 acres of this Eurasian water milfoil in the lake, which is not for a big lake, not a lot for a big lake, but we don't want to become like Houghton Lake, where they have to mow it so that boats can actually, they go underwater and mow it 12 feet down, which only causes it to reproduce and grow even more strongly in that lake. But that they're at the point where that's the only thing they can do. We are nowhere near that. In fact, we've taken a 7-acre patch and gotten it down to under 2. But now we're really concerned over here off the, I think it's the boat launch, or one part of the beach, there's a patch that's resistant to the treatment that we're doing, which means that it might have hybridized, which means that we're back at square one if that one decides to spread. But there are some treatments, and when it's a small patch like that, there's a treatment called benthic mats. You have to have permission from the local tribe and buy-in from the local tribe to put those down. That's a state mandate that the tribes get to decide what you do to a natural resource like this lake. But the benthic mats are a perfectly impervious mat that you put down on the bottom of the lake. They nail it down. They drill screws, long whatever you call them, like a tent screw, into the lake to hold the mat down, and that will suffocate the whatever you're trying to suffocate. Unfortunately, there are other native plants that are in there that will suffocate as well, which is why our treatment, the normal treatment that we use on a Eurasian water milfoil patch, is very selective. It's crystals. It lands, even if it lands on a plant that is not invasive, it will not kill it. And it's perfectly targeted for the Eurasian water milfoil. So we've had a lot of success getting rid of that. But once it hybridizes, we're talking about a different animal. And so we have to, the next thing is for new treatments to be discovered. And there's a lot of work in that out west in Montana and Wyoming, I think, believe it or not. And in Canada, they're dealing with the same things.
Do you want questions as you go? Or do you want us to wait till the end
Absolutely,
of the
because I'll just run off.
presentation? Okay, the quagga mussels, you said were at the very deepest point in the lake. How do you know that?
We have a drone company, Zero Gravity, out of Traverse City, and he has an underwater drone.
An underwater drone?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I want to go out on the boat when they do that.
I did notice a statement on one of your slides about Crystal Lake being the only lake that has more than one township.
Yeah, well, in Benzie County.
Yeah.
Is that incorrect? Okay, which other lake does?
Big Platte, Little Platte. There's a couple others too.
Okay, well, then we all have a problem.
So just
No, I
want it to be
appreciate that.
accurate, so you may want to.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. We think we're special in Crystal Lake, but we're not that special. Okay, back to the water quality. You've seen our boat wash. I don't need to go into that. Spent a lot of money fighting that and finally got it as small as we possibly could. 8 or 10 years ago, 12 years ago. I'm not sure exactly when it went in. But that picture on the right with the prop that's filled with a gunk, that's what we're trying to avoid in Crystal Lake. And so the boat wash is a really successful, for the amount of people, for the number of people that stop, it's a very successful endeavor, and we're glad to fund it. It's never going to go away because invasives are never going to go away.
So because you're taking questions along the way,
Yeah.
Your group isn't the only one doing boat wash, right?
Benzie Conservation District has 2 mobile boat wash. They're looking actually at selling one, I believe, because they don't have enough staffing to man those, but those are physical boat washes that have to be taken to a site and then monitored all day long by a Benzie Conservation District personnel, which takes that person out of the office and away from her other duties. So yes, we're not the only one.
Okay, but you do have a boat wash facility.
we operate the DNR boat launch, the DNR boat washing facility. We paid for the building and we operate that one, yes.
Off of 115.
What's that?
Is that off of 115?
Yes. Off of 150.
So where my question's going is that what percentage, and you guys addressed this at a Saturday meeting I was at, but what percentage of the boats do you think you're actually catching?
Oh, I had the statistics and I took them out of my presentation because I didn't want to bore you. I think there were over 7,000 boat launches this summer. Of those numbers, I believe they washed about 4,000 boats. They have what they call drive-bys and green passes. Drive-bys and green passes are people who have, the boat wash people know them. They never take their boat to another lake, and that's the big deal. If you don't take your boat anyplace else, you don't have to get your boat washed because it's not picking up any invasives from another lake. So I think we had almost 1,000 of the green passes and what did I say the other one was? The drive-bys. So 1,000 from around 7,000, so less than, I'm bad at math.
So about 2,000 you're missing.
Yes. And that, we can't, again, we have no enforcement. We can't put down a nail bed and force them in, got a big sign that says free boat wash. And most of the boaters, and it may be that I really can't say who's coming in and not checking you but you also realize too that there are about 15 different places on the lake where you can put in a boat. Some of them are dumb places to put in a boat. I watched a guy put in a really deep hulled power boat over on North Shore at the end of Warren, or what was
Yeah.
it? Anyway, it was a bad spot, really bad spot. He had a lot of.
But it's public access.
But not just boats are a problem. People, especially kayakers, they'll go to multiple lakes in one day. They'll get in the morning and paddle around, take their kayak out and go to another lake. Those would need to be washed if they are coming into another lake within 10 days. Obviously, if they're doing 3 boats in one day or 3 lakes in one day, they need to have a facility, which kind of brings me to I can skip right now to the water quality page. I'll go back to Swimmer's Itch in a moment, but the water quality page that says outlet dam and recreational area. And that recreational area is, again, I think people are wanting us to jump in and say, don't do it, don't do it. It's already in the works. The money has already been earmarked for parts of it, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And the only concern we have there is, are you going to let boats just drop in there without a boat wash? So we're actively exploring how we can help them design some kind of a boat wash that can be manually done by, it doesn't have to be a self boat wash, basically, because that's going to be another source. And it's not going to be a boat launching ramp so much as a kayak launching ramp. So we're really getting down to the little craft that go in and out of various lakes and perhaps within a week to 10 days before the actual time period is up. So we do not want to own anything. And so that building is as much as we own at the DNR boat launch. It would be wonderful to have another boat launch on another spot on the lake halfway around the lake. But it would require something like perhaps, where would it even be? I don't know where it would be. And who would fund it? About $15,000 a year for us to fund that and man it. So does that answer your question, I hope? Sort of?
Pretty much. You just reinforced the fact that, that's the boats coming off of other lakes are some of the biggest culprits. And it's really the smaller craft boats that probably could be more of a problem because they're putting them in at the end of the road, where the public access is there. Yeah.
Come from, they could be fishing 2 or 3 lakes before the sun comes up.
And if I've got a 14 or 16 foot boat, I'm probably on multiple lakes during the day, so.
Yeah, well, and that's where education comes in. Some people consider it intrusive to be asked to wash their boat. But if they want the lake to be here in 20 years or 30 years or 50 years, everybody needs to be more conscious about what you travel with I mean, the little beings are microscopic. The little flecks of Eurasian water milfoil are tiny. You can't see them, but they're there.
Sue, we're a society that lives for today.
Sorry.
We're a society that lives for today.
When you could be a grandparent and then suddenly you remember that
I
you're not gonna be here the rest of, forever and your grandkids are gonna be here.
get that, but the reality of it is that we're not really that long-sighted as a society.
At the boat washes, I always get the green path. I always go into Crystal Lake. But if I hadn't on my boat, would it just be hosed down or would you be scrubbing it? I mean, what does it take to get these little microorganisms
And
off?
blasted hot water, a lot of force.
Blasted hot
So
water,
you have
okay.
what are those things, the wand, the
Pressure washer.
pressure washer.
Pressure
Yeah,
washer.
you could do it yourself. It just pays to get educated as to all the little nooks and crannies where this stuff can hide. One of the presentations at the walkabout, I don't know if anybody went to the walkabout this year, it was a beautiful day. Was one of the local fishermen showing how he cleans his bait box and the bait well in his boat, because yeah, so it's really important to know all where those little critters can hide and then clean it.
So at the boat wash at 115 that you man,
Yes.
that's a power washing. You're not just getting like a light hosing. They're gonna power wash
It's
the
power
bottom of the
wash,
boat.
yep.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely.
What's the time frame from when you take your boat out of the water where you need to wash it? I mean, if I had it out for 2 weeks,
You're fine. 10 days.
A lot of people overlook the trailer too, the rollers on
Yeah.
the trailer and
Yeah. Especially if you're putting it in Houghton Lake. I don't want that stuff in my lake. Has anyone ever seen Houghton Lake? I don't mean to slam Houghton Lake, but it's that huge, it's a huge lake. And I think at its deepest, it might be 12 to 15, maybe 20 feet deep. We're 150 feet, so you can see, there's just totally different kind of lake. But once it got in there, because the lake is so shallow, and people weren't aware of what the little critter was, a Eurasian water milfoil just took off. And they literally have to mow 12 feet down so that boats don't get stuck in the weeds. And, it seems like a long stretch to believe that could happen at Crystal Lake, but over time it could, if we're not careful.
no, Sue, you said you don't want to slam other lakes, but I've got friends of mine that are on Crystal. As far as they're concerned, there is no other lake, so
Yeah. Why we bought property here. The outlet dam I'd like to talk about too, and I'm probably running out of time, so I will end with this. The outlet dam is, as you know, was built in 1979 and it's due for an upgrade. Not only is it due for an upgrade, it's probably due for replacement sooner rather than later, and that's going to cost millions of dollars according to some estimates. We can't afford that, and it's a county facility anyway. I think does the road commission, are they
the road commission,
the owners of the outlet dam? Anybody know?
if they used to be, I don't.
It used to be, but there's that circuit court order that turns certain things over to the county, something.
Not
Yeah,
I guess ownership is the first thing to determine, but
we're covering it on our policy for liability.
okay. Well, we would like to be a partner in that if any effort is going to be made. If it goes into the millions, of course, that's way outside our budget. But special assessment district or something to pay for that, because the outlet at present, anyone who wants to can go over and remove a board so that they get a little bit of waterfall out there. I mean, it's physically possible for 2 people to lift the board out in the dam, and I believe there are 3 boards. So it's got to be, at least security on it has to be tightened up so that, it's not available for vandalizing. But that's a big concern for us. And so when the plans start to get finalized for the recreational area, we're going to, kind of talk about that as well as a boat launch. Art, do you have a question?
no, I'm just thinking though that you probably ought to go to the drain commissioner to start that conversation.
Yeah. And he did reference that when he talked with us. So we'll have to keep up with that. Really quickly, our watershed operating funds, you can see that page. That's already a 9-month-old figure, 8-month-old figure, but we report at our annual meeting for the previous year. All of our operating funds come from memberships and donations. And if you take a quick look on the very last page, you can see our budget is jumping by leaps and bounds. Hopefully the legal, if you look down at land use, that's land use is the one that's encompassing the legal issues and the legal fees. So we're hoping that one will go down, but water quality, as you can see, is the big driver on our budget. So we're grateful for our membership and for anyone who wants to join. It's only $35. I hate to keep saying that. But it is it's how we keep up with things here at the lake. I'd just like to leave you with an offer. Please use this as a resource for any issues that we can help you with or coordinate with you. Water quality, zoning issues, the watershed overlay ordinance. Our land use committee is fabulous. They are on top of as much as they can be, and we try to anticipate what zoning issues may be coming up. And luckily the populace seems to be a lot more aware now. After Sunkist did what it did. I hate to keep slamming them, but it's been a nightmare for us. So whatever we can do to coordinate with you, we're happy to do, and just call on us, okay? Thank you. Any more questions?
Yeah, you have the, this on YouTube, so this will be able to be viewed by lots of people.
Okay, did I say
Want to
anything?
give an update where the Sunkist issue stands, and what the Watershed Association wanted to accomplish with their lawsuit? I mean, this would be a nice time to
Okay. You caught
summarize
me
that.
Off guard here because we're now in the deposition phase for whatever follows. It's my understanding, and the lawyer will tell me I've misspoken, I'm sure, if this is wrong. We are, right now, all the parties have reached out to us for settlement. And our settlement looks like this. Please do your job to the township officials. To the developers, please check with township officials before you start a project, not after, and ask for forgiveness. And thirdly, and I think it's already been accomplished, there was the separation of the zoning administrator's job and the supervisor's job in one of the townships, which was important because you can't oversee yourself and be objective. And use the resources that are available. As far as the lawsuit goes, we have, as I said, we're getting ready for depositions this fall. I think a couple of them may be coming up. But hopefully we don't get to a lawsuit, finalized in court. I think everybody's ready to be done with this and move on. And hopefully learn some lessons in the meantime. Thank you.
Questions?
So I've been talking about this, and I've been going, to townships and in my district, and I've been talking about this, and again, I made mention of the one lake, one zone, the land use bit, and how you all, I think you put it right here in your slide, how you all would like to see, kind of one zoning ordinance around the lake. And one person commented and said, well, that's nice and all, but sometimes, they have differences in certain townships because the land is different.
Sure.
And I didn't know how to respond to that. And so I was hoping that maybe you could help me respond to that.
Ooh. I will give you a response and then I'll refer you to our
Okay.
people that can give you a better response. For the same reason that you can't look at Platte Lake, for instance, and Crystal Lake in the same, with the same ordinances because of, for instance, we've got the South Shore and the North Shore where you've got, like, if you're lucky, 100 feet between the road and your property. But because we have a road that runs around Crystal Lake that Platte Lake doesn't have, they don't need to worry so much about setbacks as we do. So yes, there are differences. But as far as in the areas where we can, for instance, on steep slopes, no matter where the steep slope is, it has to be respected. The number of trees that are removed from a property has to be respected because just cutting the tree down and leaving the roots, well, it sounds like a good idea because that'll help with erosion, ground erosion. But the canopy of the tree is just as important because the canopy of the tree, for instance, breaks the waterfall, so it doesn't hit all in one spot and create a gully. Or again, back on the South Shore, you saw that. So there are some things that are common, and then there are some things that, by nature of the lake itself, are specific to an area or to a township. And I think there must be some governmental way to write that up so that it accommodates each individual problem without blanketly saying everybody has to do it one way or the other. So that would be my uneducated response, and I'll refer you to Tom Kucera and the Land Use Committee because they know what they're talking about.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Can I get your name?
I'm sorry.
Can I get your name?
Sorry, Sue Brown.
Well,
I didn't wear my,
thank you so much. It's very informative.
thank you
Appreciate you
for
taking
allowing
the
me to
time.
come in. Thank you.
Yeah. Right, very good. Let's move on to our topics for continued discussion. Do you want to start us off on A, maybe?
Yes, so in your packet, you have a very large document from the general ledger system. This is the current fiscal year budget as it stands. It was run on 9/4. So as it stood on 9/4, the report does say as of 9/30, that's a limitation of the system. It goes by the end of the month to get the partial activity within the month. So I can't set it to be as of 9/4. It's as of the last day of the month, but the report was run on 9/4. So anything on the system through 9/4 is what's reflected. Looking at the budget, everything looks really good. As you know, we're in the last few weeks of our budget year. So, we should be over 90% of our expenditures and revenues, and we are really for almost everything. Some of our expenditures are in the 80%, but looking at those more specifically, it's because of other reasons outside of our control. For instance, in the general fund, front of their court reimbursement to Manistee. Manistee is a little behind in their billing, so we haven't paid them since May for front of the court reimbursement. And so that's why that one looks like it's so underutilized, like we over budgeted it. We haven't had a bill since May, so I anticipate that being much closer to 100%, obviously. There's some other ones too that look a little like we over budgeted, and those are grant dollars. So Parks and Recreation specifically, we budgeted the $300,000 DNR grant. However, we haven't gotten that far in the process, so we haven't received any reimbursement or paid out regarding that grant. And so we're rebudgeting that for the next fiscal year. So that one obviously looks lower too, because those dollars are not coming through just quite yet. But as a whole, the budgets look really, really well. Everyone did a wonderful job in tracking their budgets and making sure that they stayed within their expenditures. Revenues look really, really good too. If you look in the general fund, it looks like we're pretty low in our revenues, but the reality is because we're in the midst of tax collection, so that's why. So as those dollars continue to come in and they hit settlement in March, those different revenue lines for tax levies will change, and they're actually posted back. So if you were to take a look at the report from last fiscal year, you'll see that the tax revenue was posted in December, posted back to September 30th. And that's just because, as you know, tax dollars continue to come through over the next few months, but they're posted back in the general ledger. So while it looks like we've only collected about a third, a quarter of our tax revenue, that'll be much closer to 100% as we get through the rest of tax season. Overall, though, things look really, really well. We're not exceeding anything crazy when it comes to expenditures. The few lines that maybe are over are all explainable, and it's things that we can't necessarily predict with accuracy. Some health insurance costs change. Well, that's because as staff turns over, we may go from a single to a family plan, so we account for that. Some retirement costs may change for the sense of as people retire, we're bringing on to the DC plan, so that changes things as well. With the amount of money we're paying into MERS specifically. So some of those things just, we do our best, but it just depends on the demographic and that's here. Outside of that, there really isn't much point of note that it looks good. Everybody did a great job.
I can tell you that when I started, and I'm not the longest serving commissioner sitting here at this table, but that kind of report, it wasn't like this. There were more issues. So, I mean, huge appreciation to the staff.
You're doing
and our
great.
employees that do a great job and are really fiscally minded about making a report like that possible.
Yeah, there really isn't areas of grave concern by any means. Same from Kelly's perspective. Everyone has been very responsible with their dollars, and it shows. Yeah.
Any questions for Katie on this?
Yeah, one.
Yeah.
The FICA social security is at 162%. How come that's so out of whack?
Where are we at? Which one?
Have I got that right or not? This one right here. Oh, wait a minute. Did I get the right line or not? 162% old.
Like a social security. Oh, in the circuit court.
Cause that's where it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, don't call that number.
Nope.
So the circuit court, most of that's a reimbursement back to Manistee. And being that we budgeted $100 and we have sent $162, could be one of two things. It's either we miscoded one of the expenditures 1 month when we did the invoices, or Karen Felicia, there was a change at the Manistee level, so then it wasn't reported back to us necessarily.
Wasn't extra employees or anything like that.
No, they haven't actually, they've been shuffling around a lot of employees in Manistee. So there's no extra employees. They had a shortage for quite some time. Friend of the court's issue is they didn't have staff. They were in a huge shortage there. And so it's not extra employees, but when we're dealing with, an agency that can't see our general ledger and we're working through spreadsheets, there's a good chance that it just didn't get relayed back to our office to update the general ledger.
I'm just looking at the extra percentages.
Well, and so if you look really close at it, we budgeted, it looks like $100 and they spent $162. So that's why it looks like it's 162%.
Yeah. So
But
we're
it's
talking
still
about
true.
$62.
We're talking about a $62 overage where we missed the mark.
Right.
All righty, well, you should be at, Well, wait a second. That means that their salaries are over too, Gary.
But they're not.
Well, if their salaries aren't over, but their
We're
FICA
blaming
is.
Manistee, so we'll leave it at that.
Well, and Manistee, working through their invoice has been a work in progress, actually. So that relationship was formed well pre-me. And so the way we get the invoices has continued to evolve over time. As you remember, Pat Hines was over there. Now we have Karen Felicic over there, and we have all these other, parts of the courts. We don't just get one Manistee bill for courts. We get a circuit court bill, and we get a friend of the court bill, and we get a juvenile bill. So they're all broke apart, and they all look different because they're all prepared by a different person in Manistee. Some are then remitted to circuit court, and some are then remitted to administration. And so there's bound to be a few errors here and there because they all look so differently. Some of them send them digitally, some of them snail mail them, some of them staple them, some of them don't. And so there's no consistency with the Manistee billing. So sometimes there's just a miss here and there because they all look differently. They're all done a little differently. They're all remitted to a different department. And so it's just a lot of room for error. Whereas here we kind of have this streamlined, it's all remitted to Benzie County or Benzie County administration, and then we funnel it out. There, it's either remitted to circuit court or the treasurer or the administrator or.
Do you think their administrator has any persuasive leverage in streamlining that?
I've asked.
You get your chance, you can talk to her.
It's fine though. We've worked through some
Yeah.
kinks of it, and it's gotten a lot better because when we redid our chart of accounts, Manistee did their chart of accounts a little differently, and the invoices they were sending us were Manistee's GLs and not our GLs. So then we had to go through this whole process of fixing that because when we're following, so it used to be the GLs were our GLs on the invoice. So then when we're just putting down the number, well, the GLs aren't the same in both counties, and they were using Manistee's GLs. So that was a whole host of journal entries to
General
fit.
ledger you're supposed to use?
Well, it's uniform in the sense of department codes and, fund codes, but not necessarily the account codes. And so they're not 100% across the board. There's some nuances. And so that month caused a lot of journal entries to fix that because we thought they were Benzie's GLs, but they were Manistee's GLs. So it's come a long way. It's gotten better, but there's still, there's like 4 different billings coming from Manistee for the various
I
reasons.
think they can make that
kind of consistent somehow. So I didn't have the issues.
To my understanding, some of it has to do with the reporting to the state. So for instance, like the child care fund, you know, there's certain things they have to give to the state of Michigan. And so they just give us what they give the state for that one. Whereas with the Manistee overall billing, it's a little different because child care, the only part of the child care that's on there is a salary, not the child care fund specifically. So then that's a separate invoice because that's going to Manistee. So some of it is because of the state reporting.
We don't want to ruin that relationship. It
No,
works well.
It's a great relationship.
Hey,
The
Tim,
folks
any
are
other
good.
questions about the budget?
None for me then.
Chris? Art?
Overtime's.
Yeah, I'd like to spend another 10 minutes talking about a $62 item.
We
I'm
could.
not gonna do that.
Which overline are you worried about?
No, I'm just looking at the percentages there. Overtime is 175% over.
So that is secondary road patrol, and while it says it's 135%, you're looking at about $1,500. And
Okay,
so-
another cheap one. I'll put.
It's a, you know, when you're
Just look
looking
at
at
the
budgets.
percentages
you-
are, that's where.
I know, I get that, but you gotta look at both
Yeah.
dollar impact and the percentage. How much time do I want to spend on?
Mhm.
Well, and with the
35
secondary
bucks.
road patrol, some of that's reimbursable through the state. So some of that will end up coming back to us,
Yeah.
specifically. And, you know, some of that's seasonal. And so, you know, you try your best to plan for overtime costs related to law enforcement. But if we have a rough summer, we're just bound to incur additional overtime costs, whether we like it or not.
I see you need to get a new crystal ball.
Yes. Hopefully it's pink instead of purple.
We're a lot better off than we were years ago by a long shot.
In terms of reporting, and Katie, you know, after having been through 8 year ends, some of my observation is that when we're going through the audit process, we get adjustments made. So like if it says you're 135% over, well, something was booked wrong, so they make the adjustments. And
So from an audit standpoint, they typically, what they're having us do is they're doing journal entry for cash purposes, for cash movement. The budget, what you see here, the budget amendment, that's what you approved Kelly and I to do today. So we're going to correct all the lines. We're going to correct the budget. And then the auditor's going to come in and look at all of that. And they're going to then shore up the cash to match. And so a lot of those journal entries quite often are those sorts of entries that are made specifically. Mhm.
Great. Leave the topic of the 24-25 budget, and thank you for your effort on that. I know there's a lot of work done behind the scenes that we have no idea.
I will say we've cut our budget amendments like
Quite a bit.
3/4 from the first year I was here. So everyone's doing a lot better in projecting and planning and spending. You guys very rarely see budget amendments anymore.
And it was common.
Yes.
just one more question, it's more cultural. You know, it's always been my experience that department heads and employees is use it or lose it.
Mhm.
We've tried, this group in particular has tried to make them understand that you're not gonna get punished because you didn't use all your budget. If next year it changes and you need it, we're not cutting it back because of what happened the previous year.
Correct.
Have we made any headway with that?
I think you have, the first budget season I was here, I remember the use it or lose it mentality. And there was this push at the end of the fiscal year to buy certain things because it may not be there the next year. But really, you know, the staff understands and you understand the ebbs and flows of needs and wants. And so I think, yes, there's been a shift. I don't get the sense of, well, if I don't budget for it, they won't give it to me, because you all have been very reasonable when things do come about, you give the extra funding for it because there's good justification and there's understanding of the operations and the things that need to be done. And so I don't really see that sort of mentality at all anymore.
Good. Ready to move on? Let's discuss, have our discussion regarding the public land ordinance. I will invite Rebecca Hubers up to go over that.
Wake up.
So in your packet is a draft public land use ordinance. Rebecca has really worked to ferret through the system, to have it reviewed by Parks and Recreation, Betsy Valley Trail Management Council, as well as the Sheriff's Office and the prosecutor and our legal counsel. So what is in front of you is kind of you're the next step in this process. And I'll let Rebecca kind of go over what it means.
Do you have any questions? I'm guessing you read it, the thou shall nots. Do you have any questions? Those were, again, suggestions, maybe cut and paste from other, counties. And if you are like, we don't want anything to do with that, we just cut it. So it really comes down to, we don't want to address smoking, cut it. There are some, the way some of the things were worded, some of the factors, some of the changes, have to do with what people have presented to me. For example, there is one on here that is specific to, I gotta find it now. To place, alter, or remove any natural or man-made structure with the intent of altering water courses, lakeshore, wetlands, or other water body. There never was anything. So yes, two people can take out a board. Someone could film them. Can't do anything about it. Now, we're saying that we could with an ordinance. Charge them with a misdemeanor for doing such thing. There's obviously intent. If two little kids take out a board because they want to play in the water or something, we're not gonna go, enforcing everything. There's intent and there's considerations and it's common sense when it comes to some of the things that are listed in here. Some of the ordinances or the thou shall nots were listed, might not make sense now. Like, but it was built to, if you should expand, you don't have to go back and fix some of the ordinances, like say the no smoking in the structures. Obviously, we have a workplace law that says you can't smoke in here, but what if all of a sudden they build a pavilion? We don't have it now. We're not addressing it now, but it's there and you don't have to go, well, shoot, really don't want them to smoke in the pavilion. It's harder to change an ordinance than it is to do anything else. Other than that, you guys have a lot of signs, but there is no teeth behind any of those signs. And I think that there needs to be something, I guess. So that's where this is kind of going in that direction.
I read $100 or 90 days in jail.
A misdemeanor violation. Any person, yes, that's the set by statute.
Like, who's not gonna take the $100?
Somebody who wants to break from the homeless.
Right?
It's a free meals.
It's a $100
Seems
ticket.
like a wide range.
The point of, oh, you mean between the
$100 or 90 days in jail. So that's
Exactly.
just somewhere on the spectrum, or
Yes.
is it either or?
there's a reason that there's 90 days versus 93 days versus 92 days in the jail system and who does what and where, who goes where. So statute has set this particular MCL that you're working off of, your authority. That's the penalty that your authority is allowed to, so it's $100 ticket if you should move a board. It's $100 ticket if you should, I don't know, park in the wrong parking spot. I don't think it's your point to make money or do anything. It's to prove a
Deterrent.
point. It's a deterrent.
Yeah.
That a ticket exists instead of going, you can't do that, and then just walking away because there's nothing you can do. They can, whatever, they can fight the ticket. It's not about the monetary amount or the jail time, to be honest.
So are we looking for a consensus to move this ordinance forward to our next full meeting?
Yeah, I was looking through it to see if there's anything that you guys just don't consider to be an issue that you want to not, don't want the public to think that you're working on, that, like I said, the smoking or whatever it is, the motor vehicles. I tried to address anything that those commissions had brought up regarding the pathway. This does not change anything in the pathway ordinance whatsoever. That is another complete different ordinance. Yes, the lands might overlap a little bit if you think about how much of the trail runs through Railroad Point and that type of thing. I guess it would be up to the person who is enforcing a particular complaint, whether it was trail relevant or off trail relevant, and what is the lesser, what gets the point across, lesser or more type of thing. Trying to think if there's anything else that I was worried about. We did talk to legal counsel. Legal counsel originally had said this was the Benzie County Parks and Rec Board. I think we had that conversation that that's normally how it would go if you had a fully authorized Parks and Rec Board that had enforcement capabilities, but you guys kind of dictate what the Parks and Rec Board can and cannot. So we're leaving that authority under the Board of Commission and not the Board of, or Parks Commission that you might see in other places. And any questions? Any reasons
Who are
why?
you plagiarizing?
Hmm?
Who are you plagiarizing?
I took the noise ordinance from Grand Traverse because noise ordinance, the prosecutor wanted me to make sure that that was very precise because we don't want to take from Homestead Township. Actually Homestead Township, I think also took theirs from either Traverse, that might have been Traverse City or Grand Traverse. I've used sources from
Many.
Mont Home.
Okay.
Emmett, maybe?
Emmett, I think
So you didn't take just one policy
No.
and carve it up?
no, I looked at what other people's priorities were. Menominee, I think I looked at some of theirs and said, okay, what is it that our priorities? And I did a lot of cut and paste into there that I thought, what would be Benzie County priorities? And again, some of them were kind of broad, like I could give or take the smoking one.
Yeah.
It was just a matter of, I'm going to add it and you all can tell me whether it's a priority or not. Because again, currently we don't have any pavilions, but same with the camping, where indicated, it's like, well, we don't have any campgrounds, but maybe in 10 years they have,
We do have.
get a
pavilion.
tax-free, campground.
Isn't there a pavilion at the memorial, Veterans Memorial?
That's township. park.
Township property.
Oh, the county owns it, but it's township property?
We don't own it.
No.
Townships.
Township allowed the veterans to go there.
Oh, so it'd have to be there.
No, but if you should put one at Zeta Park for some reason,
Okay.
I don't know, I just wanted to make sure that we thought more than just the current and we thought ahead. Did change I did find the rules from Railroad Point.
good.
I addressed a few with them. They understood why. It's like, they just said no horses. I said, there's a county road that runs through there. You have to allow horses or bicycles on roads that exist, even if it's as long as it's not abandoned, it's still a county roadway type of thing. So there were certain things we had to figure out. Nobody was opposed by any means. So it
Right.
went through Parks and Rec. It's been presented in front of the Trailways Council, so they understand it. I used some of the words from the Trailways Council regarding like the hunting and reference their ordinances.
And I've got kind of a series of questions. Can I ask them or? So you got this from multiple sources. I'm just learning now that the Veterans Memorial, does Benzonia Township own that or they just own the land that it sits on?
They manage it or whatever. We don't have that listed as a county park. The only county parks that I can find on our website were the ones that I were listed.
That are listed,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And we do not cover that pavilion from a liability insurance
Oh,
standpoint.
all right, my confusion. Okay, and, when you talk about the being able to camp. Now I have to go back and look at this, but I don't remember, is there a timeline? Is there no camping at all? Or is there a number of days minimum?
Camping by definition is pretty much setting up and sleeping in a particular spot. Again, a deputy might pull up and say a guy's resting in his car. Is he camping? Based on that definition. So it goes by the definition, just says thou shalt not camp. And camp means establish a lodging or sleeping site for a person on the ground or in any manner. Sleeping bag, tent, hammock, trailer, that would include hammock hanging. Vehicle, camper, motor vehicle, boat, or any conveyance erected, parked, or placed on county property overnight or day use. So
Overnight or day. So if I'm on county property and I want to put up a shelter from the sun, so it's a canopy, and I put down something that allows me to be more comfortable on the ground, that potentially could be construed as camping.
it could be. Guess it's the discretion of the officer and complaint.
But now the officer has to define that because there's no clear definition for them.
I think there's a definition. It's whether what that action is, does that action
Okay.
fall within the definition or not?
Let me ask it, yeah, okay. So it's a matter of, do I agree with that definition for
Yeah.
this purpose?
If I fall asleep under an umbrella, am I camping?
And on smoking, we're not saying they can't smoke in public. It's just that they can't be in the building to smoke. And isn't it like a state law, you gotta be 50 feet from the entrance or something?
That's only for workplaces and places that serve food. So again, one of a pavilion is what I was thinking in my head, doesn't qualify for any of those that I'm aware of, so I just covered it under the ordinance. The other one that I covered, is, just to give us options. Was the recycling. To deposit, dump, or throw or place any refuse, rubbish, trash, or garbage, or cast off any article of any kind not identified as recyclable in accordance with posted rules at any Benzie County controlled recycling site. There's a law. The dumping law or whatever, that applies, illegal dumping that applies to our sites. But man, that's a hard, the way it's written is not as easy as if the prosecutor could just say, I'm writing you $100 ticket. There's been conversations, do we invest in cameras at our recycling sites to help them out when people dump TVs and mattresses and whatnot? Well, if there's nothing that says, and Dave doesn't want to go through the entire illegal dumping process and statute, you kind of just flick it at an ordinance. A lot of times, there's lots of state laws that cover lots of things. There's a state law that covers littering. Go one way or the other.
Okay.
So I'm not saying that these are all inclusive. So again, there's a state law that says that someone shall not smoke in here, but I'd have to look at all the parameters of it. Is it only for employees? Is it only if it's serving food? If it, so it's.
Well, we're not prohibiting them from smoking outside anyway.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. If it's just if you don't want it, if it seems too convoluted and it doesn't really bother you if someone's vaping in a picnic shelter, then it was just put there. It doesn't mean I stand one way or other on it.
And you had 3 groups look at this, including legal counsel.
Mhm.
Legal counsel is looking at it from
Your liability.
the liability of it. The other 2 groups, I assume, would be looking at it from the social aspect also.
They were like, is that what we want in an area that we meet constantly about, like the Railroad Point Group and then the rails, and then the prosecutor reviewed it to make sure I was referencing proper statute. You can't say we're following this ordinance because this law tells us to, and then I cited the wrong law, then I look silly.
And as usual, you finished this much faster than I thought you were going to. I thought it'd be the end of the year. So did these 2 groups get adequate time to really look at this?
I would hope so. A month between each meeting. I met with
Okay.
Parks and Rec twice. Once to introduce it and
Okay.
2 to say, what do you, now that you've seen it, what do you think?
Yeah.
I don't know, I guess, Gary, do you feel from a
Yeah, I
member
think
standpoint, you had
I
time
think
to
we
do?
looked it over.
If you were
Yeah.
really cared about it, you looked at it.
Yeah, no, if you had a month, you didn't give them 2 days.
So,
No.
Yeah,
he
you gave
us
them a
that.
month. And the thing that I'm most concerned about usually writing these kind of policies, which I have very little experience in, is trying to impose my value systems on the general public.
understood.
Is there anything in here that would look like we're doing that?
Nobody from that social aspect took offense. Again, I copied a lot of what they were implying that they wanted to do anyway. I was just trying to make sure that it was proper, like no horses or no, they just said no horses. So, kind of went with what I know their intent was. They don't want to cause damage off road trails, dirt, but those types of things. So I think it is built on the intent of what we're just trying to do, which is protect. And not necessarily say we don't want, the public on our lands. We want to protect the lands, that little bit of land that we have, make sure that's not overly abused. And I think that's what they're trying to, I don't know, if you saw something that you were just like, that's highly offensive to me, then I would hope that you would have pointed it out. And you would have felt or say, I could think that this reflects negatively on a certain demographic, then you just change it.
And Rebecca, for me, where the whole thing started was a concerted influx of homeless. And that's kind of what, okay, we need to take a look at this because we have no policy at all.
Yeah, and that might be, you know, a demographic that may have been a consideration too, but I think my, focus originally was on what, the 22nd, you're showing a big old picture of how you're going to change public use at a place where most people didn't even know existed, like Railroad Point. You're like, hey, look at our beautiful space, please use it. Are they going to use it properly? And if you say, please don't do this here, or please don't do that, you're, what are the teeth behind that? You can put signs up all day, but if
Right.
you can't tow a vehicle because it's parked in the wrong spot, then why is the sign there? Why are the cameras at the recycle site if you can't write a ticket to somebody who dumped a TV or a mattress or 50 gallons of fish or whatever?
So which will bring me to my last question, okay? In terms of enforcement, does it make sense to have the prosecutor's office or the sheriff's office look at this and say, look, I'm willing to enforce this piece of it, but this piece of it, we're not willing to?
Again, I sent it to the prosecutor's office before I even presented it to Parks and Rec to make sure, one, I was even quoting the right statutes, and two, what her thought process was. The prosecutor, the sheriff's office has seen it slightly, but probably because it was on my kitchen table and I said, look at that, please. But
Look at it or you don't get dinner.
She meant the undersheriff.
no, because he's like, well, why haven't you talked to us? I'm like, you don't have to enforce crap if you don't want to, but we have to have something. It does say an agent, so if you determined in the future to have a Parks and Rec division with Parks and Rec rangers, you wouldn't have to rely on the sheriff's department at all. So it does say an agent of the, I guess Katie could write a ticket or anybody could write a ticket for this particular ordinance, because it might allow for that. And if the prosecutor will accept it. Yeah. So, that, again, that was a projection. Why didn't you just say sheriff's office? It's because you might have a park ranger someday. I don't know. And I didn't want you to have to go back and rewrite a bunch of things. I wanted it to be as useful as possible for as long as possible. So you saw some giant flaw. I'll wait for public comment to point out all my giant flaws.
Thank you, Rhonda. I'm good.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I'm kind of excited. Art's never gonna ask a question again. So that was his last one.
On this subject.
No, if you see something that's glaring that you're like, we don't want to address that, we just take it out.
Oh, it looks
It's
like it's well
really-
vetted to me. Do you have a lot of input from did you have to make a lot of changes from the original? Or are we seeing the red lined?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That was my typos,
Little or.
which is funny because I'm like, how many times did I spell ordinance wrong and how many people looked at it and nobody else caught it either, except for the legal guy who probably ran it through Word doc.
And I guess since we have the sheriff here, have you seen this document? Have you seen this ordinance, Sheriff? Is this something that you feel comfortable?
He's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about.
Actually, I have to admit, I've read the entire thing
Okay.
preparing for this
Good job.
because it came to my attention, but
And did you want to offer any input? Are you comfortable
I
with it?
think it's discretionary on our part for enforcement and I don't see it. I didn't see anything that was alarming or problematic, so.
Yeah, I don't imagine that, again, they don't have time. Just if something presents itself, is this an option in which to use instead of maybe, giving somebody
like
some
our
eviction
OSB
notice? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's all it is. So pretty much it's you redline it more, whether you want that stuff or not, and it has a process. Notification process, legal counsel has advised Katie on what that process is. It has to be posted and people need to know, and not necessarily a public hearing per se, but it's more of a, it has to be posted and
You have to
and
publish it for
publish
so many
it.
days.
for several days.
Is there anything you need on our end today?
Just, no, I hear the consensus, put it forward on the 23rd. So on the 23rd, we'll do the official, introducing the ordinance, we'll get it all published. And then, we'll set it for adoption. Once you adopt it, it becomes effective so many days after, and we have to publish it again once
Yeah.
it's enacted. So, yeah.
Go through the process, okay.
Having to do an
Thank you
ordinance.
for your work on this.
I think we have.
Well done.
I had to do it with this.
Everybody satisfied? Any other comments on that subject?
We
Okay,
don't.
we'll move
No,
on to
you
our
guys
last
don't.
subject, which is our conversation regarding moving forward with the annual evaluation of the county administrator, which needs to occur in November. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. Art, I think that you wanted to discuss this in the earlier meeting and I pushed the pause button, so you have the floor.
Well, by pushing the pause button, you made me think that I'm going to delegate this responsibility to you. And so you run with it.
Which leads us to our question for Commissioner Markey. Did you have a template that you used in the prior?
It to Art, I'm giving it back to him.
Okay, we bounce back.
And I'll give it to you.
So forward that email to Rhonda.
Okay, were there any qualms with the last evaluation with the format? It was several pages of,
Questions.
pardon?
Questions.
Yeah, question, wasn't it 2 or 3 pages?
I never
It
saw
dealt
that.
with things like leadership, management, administration. Am I right, Tim?
Yeah, providing us with the menu to buy us lunch every meeting. I mean, that is important.
So the critique I would make of it is that in our roles as commissioner, we work with Katie on this level. We are not with Katie in a day-to-day office environment, and sometimes the questions ask us to make assessments on things that we can't answer. And so did anybody feel like the evaluation was predominantly weighed that way? Where it asked questions that it's like, I really don't know how to answer this because I don't interact with our administrator that way. We can look for different styles of evaluations, or we can run with the one we had. I'm open to discussion.
Well, I'm gonna jump on this. It may not be perfect, and I'm not saying it isn't, but I'm very cautious about changing the evaluation and what it looks like too regularly. So even if you don't have the perfect document, use it for a while.
It makes my job easier. now that it's
It sure
been
does.
delegated to me.
Yep.
Well, that and the fact that if you don't feel like you can answer it, don't answer it. That's an easy one for me. That's why I won't do any of it. Now, anyway.
So the timeline of when the evaluations need to be issued, I'd like to have that timeline set.
Okay.
So maybe we can, at our next study session, decide when they're gonna be issued, when they're expected back, and I'm assuming we'll go into closed session again.
At the request of the
At the request of
administrator.
the administrator, to review, so. If everybody's comfortable with using the same one that we used last year, we have our marching orders and we can. Right, Christie?
Yeah, so it just says the Board of Commissioners
It was
or
good last year, right?
Right.
it just says the Board of Commissioners or its designated committee may complete a performance evaluation of the employee in November of each year. So it doesn't say a date or anything. It's just in November.
It has to be finalized
It just said
for November.
may complete a performance evaluation of the employee in November.
Yeah.
And I heard a May there,
Correct.
so let's all be on board that we actually want to do this. It's not a shall, that's a may.
It is a may.
What,
There's a
just
difference.
an evaluation?
Yes.
Oh, I think you need.
It's your call. I don't give my staff the option.
Do you do evaluations?
No. We probably should, but we don't. None of us really do. I mean, do you? None of us do.
Yeah, and I tell you, from the day I was elected, I've been a big proponent for doing evaluations.
Yeah.
Not everybody likes them, but I'll tell you, at the end of the day, people like to know, hey, where do I stand with my boss? And even if they shrug it off, I disagree. I still think they care about knowing formally where they stand.
You shouldn't give me the option though. I mean, technically y'all are my boss. You shouldn't give me the
Right, and that's
option.
what's problematic to me, that, our different. We're one body, but our different relationships with you could
Mhm.
yield different results or different opinions, and it's hard to have a room of critiquing with 7 people judging one person.
I think
I'm
that-
uncomfortable with that.
I think that's why Tim set it up as an average, because all I saw was the results. I didn't see the actual
Right.
thing
Okay.
itself. And I think it was set up as an average, wasn't it, Tim? Where it averaged all the folks who responded And then it listed comments individually. So if you wanted to leave comment. So,
And if I remember right, there wasn't much disparity. Not like one,
There was some topics that were, hey, he had a decent rate, like. Well, for an example, I'm not saying this did occur. He had a couple topics where I think deviation was, between a 2 and a 5. 5 being the best and 2 being below average.
Okay.
So I think that's a big discrepancy, to be honest with you.
yeah, it is.
yeah, because you're only ranking 1 through 5, I think.
Yeah. And it's 8 pages long. 8 pages.
But the other thing is it does say it's the commission or a designated committee. So if the full board is uncomfortable, you could do a designated committee as well.
So everybody would fill out the document, but the committee would work with or just the committee would make the evaluation.
It just
what
says,
it says.
the Board of Commissioners or its designated committee may complete a performance evaluation of the employee in November of each year. Period.
But we submitted them to you, didn't you? And then you came up with the averages and did you even provide the comment if there was comments made?
Think so.
Yeah, I got the
believe
comment.
they were on there.
Yes,
Hmm.
but I did not put 5.
Right, right.
In fact, I think I'm the only one who has all that information.
So that didn't go into an employee file or anything like that with
I was
HR
asked to
at the.
provide that to anybody.
I saved it in my digital file, but yeah,
And that should be somewhere as permanent record.
yeah. Yeah. it's
Opinions
saved.
about the administrator evaluation. How's everybody feel about it? We need to weigh in.
Want an opinion or
Yep.
what? No,
Yeah.
doing a great job.
I'm in favor of doing an evaluation.
I'm in favor too, just because it gives Katie it's in fairness to Katie, that way she knows she's doing things the right way, the way that this board thinks she should be doing it. I mean, it's for her too, not just for us.
Dave?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's important feedback to know that, oh, I thought I was doing this right the whole time and
Right.
Well, I had a boss that actually would argue that he wanted to have quarterly reviews with his employees because he didn't want an employee going a full year doing something wrong.
When you address the issue,
Yeah, that's.
start going
that's-
south.
Well,
Administrator was doing something wrong. I don't think we would wait for an evaluation to print it out.
Don't do this
I think
every
there
year.
would be a conversation, in our office.
it's just like if things are going well.
Chrissy?
Yes, I agree for an evaluation. It's just, yeah, it's a way to give feedback and, I don't know. I've served on, another board where actually, yeah, she knew everything that we said, but I think you were right. She didn't know who said what. But I've been on boards before where we've done that and it is important, I think, to understand, when I interact with Katie maybe a couple of times a month, maybe, right? You all dealing, you and Art deal with her, probably weekly, a couple of times, several times a week. I don't know, maybe day, I don't know. I don't know what your
Art's daily.
frequency is. I know, he's daily. But yeah, even somebody who, like somebody like me who maybe isn't, working with her every day, I might have a different perspective. I might. I don't think I do, but I might.
So are the marching orders with the 8-page evaluation, like Gary said, if you don't feel comfortable filling out a section, not feel comfortable, if you don't feel like it specifically asks a question that you can honestly answer, should you skip that section?
There's actually,
Put an NA by it.
Or
keep-
just say,
there's things built into that,
Yeah,
the scoring
Mm-hmm.
to accommodate.
And are you going to assist with the scoring?
Gonna let whoever's running with this do it.
I don't want to run with it.
Or Rhonda.
Oh, you are.
You send it to me and I'll make sure it gets done.
I already sent it to both of you.
Okay.
While we were sitting here?
Yes.
So let me ask, when we're in a meeting is the chair can overrule the vice chair, right? Am I right about that?
Well, right now, we can't make decisions anyway.
No, but I mean, if I was sitting in a different setting, now who really carries, I don't want to say most of the weight, because everybody knows who's carrying most of the weight.
Any, they can overrule you as well.
Oh, yeah.
As a group.
The board,
Group,
yeah.
we can.
Yeah, that's why I just do it when she and I were sitting down. We'll get it done, okay? We'll get it
The
done.
last time only 6 of the 7 took the evaluation too, so keep that in mind. Could have somebody who chooses not to do it again.
And you know what, we're just gonna take the divisor is however many I get. I can't force you to do something.
Right.
Just don't complain to me later on that you didn't have a voice.
Any other thoughts?
And when do you want us to have that India?
She doesn't.
Any other thoughts?
We would, there will be, regardless of how you get it, there will be a deadline to get it back.
Right.
Because the objective should be that we're sitting down with the administrator in the month of November, not just starting the process in November, regardless of what the contract says. The intention was that a month or so out of the fiscal year, we should know, she should know how she performed.
November 12th or 25th.
Yeah, well, it'll be back to, whoever's preparing it, it'll be back, have to be back to them in October.
12th would be better. 24th is my birthday. I don't want you to ruin my birthday the
No.
next day.
Oh,
Let's see how it comes back.
Birthday.
Day.
That might help you perform it. Don't ruin my. Oh,
Someone's ruining a birthday.
all right. It sounds like we are moving forward with the administrator's evaluation and we'll have firmer dates as we move forward. When we get it out and have it returned. So this brings us to our final public comment. Is there anyone who would like to speak?
yeah, me.
Okay.
We squint.
Got right up, didn't he?
It's up to the microphone. One thing I wanted everybody to think about.
I'm sorry, could you identify yourself?
I don't know who it's- Gary Sauer, yeah, Blaine Township. I'm sorry, Eric. One thing I would like to discuss, we have 2 public comments. The one public comment I would like to change to issues on the agenda. The second public comment is a general, but I also listened to our attorney. And he said you could make the second public comment a shorter time period. So I just want to consider that. We can change that in the board rules eventually, but it's just something that I've been kind of thinking about. Anyway.
Thank you.
I didn't put him up to that.
Eric Van Dusen, Benzonia. I oppose that. It was just said. Just because the First Amendment should trump anything, my humble opinion. And if someone shows up to your meeting at the beginning of the meeting and they can't stay for the whole thing, then they don't have an opportunity to even address you if it's not strictly on your agenda. And your agendas are a lot better than other public bodies, meetings that I attend where you actually know what's on the agenda. But in others, it's just like a question that's open when you walk up to the mic. I just sent you all another email because I think I found the actual case that's pending in the Court of Claims regarding the request for proposals for behavioral health services that there's actually a hearing on the 16th found on the Court of Claims website. I sent you a link to that Register of Actions, which lists all the filings and case information, and also an article that was recently published, I think on the 1st, regarding the filing of that lawsuit. So it gives you a synopsis, like an overview of that case. And at the end of the email, I ask you, would Benzie and Manistee counties potentially be joining on as plaintiffs to that pending case? Or is it being contemplated that they'd file a separate lawsuit? Because that's a Region 10 kind of. This is Region 2. Is it going to be a new lawsuit? And with the deadline for the responses to the request for proposals being September 29th, you know, you might want to contemplate like intervening in that lawsuit or just adding yourself as plaintiffs to that one because you're kind of behind the eight ball on it now that I see the timelines and having oral arguments on the 16th, which now that I see that I might go film them depending on where they're located in Michigan. So that's all I got.
So,
Thanks.
Chair, do you want to address that?
yeah, so
Sorry.
the one that you forwarded,
Consent?
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a separate one. I'm fairly confident because I do know that there's several different organizations, PIHPs and CMHs all doing the same thing,
Oh.
but separately.
Yeah, the article the link to the article gives you an overview of, it seems
Right.
like the same thing. The one I said,
You're exactly right. It's very similar, but I do know that there's several different groups attacking it. The bid out process individually. So there's a group in the southern part of the state doing it. That's what I think this one's referencing.
yeah,
There's a group in the north doing it as well.
but it hasn't been filed yet.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, and that's the one you might sign on to, is my understanding.
Correct.
But
One from the north.
with the deadline of the 29th and this issue already going for oral arguments in the Court of Claims, you know, for you didn't table it, you withdrew the motion. I actually sent an email to the attorney representing the plaintiffs in this case, as I was sitting back here, requesting all the filings in the case, because I think your attorney should get all those to start looking at what the legal issues is, but maybe you want to have a special meeting to just address that issue if it's because of the deadline of the 29th.
I do think there's a complex issue because this issue could be being attacked from different angles. And so
Yeah.
I'm not sure how Chris Cook is gonna file his motions. Chris Cook is the attorney for Central Wellness, who will make,
Okay.
is my understanding. And so there are so many, just to give him, and I think I said that in the open meeting, there are so many angles that this can be challenged on. I'm not sure each one's gonna take the same approach.
Yeah, I think from the record, from the Register of Actions, it looks like they're attempting to get before the judge on the 16th to get a preliminary injunction prohibiting the request for proposal process from even, that deadline, set it aside, basically temporary releasing, protective. Thanks.
Well, I know we're breaking protocol, but I'm,
I'm still
I'm,
position it's a little more loosey-goosey.
now I'm confused. We had agreed that under the right circumstances, we would sign on to a litigation with Central Wellness. And Central Wellness already represents Manistee and Benzie County. And then Manistee with this 9 or 10 other groups, that's their health department.
I don't know how Manistee's health department is.
I think we're
Well-
confusing health department number 10 with the 10 regions.
But Manistee's part of that.
Manistee is with
District 10 Health.
District 10 Health
Correct.
Department, but there are 10 PIHP regions that are trying to be reduced
from
to
health.
3.
The state
separate.
numbers everybody the same, but
Yeah.
there's a different acronym associated with that number.
Right.
But when the question was asked, where we're gonna join and with Manistee and Benzie County are already joined together with our CMH.
Yes.
Correct.
And that was our intention. Manistee, I think, has already acted on it and said,
I don't know.
okay, well, I was left with the impression they intend to.
I was too.
Okay. So anyway, I need to clear that up in my head. I was thinking, and you're right, when you said 10 other health departments, I'm thinking, so they're in District 10, but that's not necessarily the 10 other health departments.
It's nothing to do with the health department.
I know that. That's what I got confused.
So they're part of District 10 Health Department.
Right.
And that in that avenue, we're a different district for our health department, but then we're together for community mental
Yeah,
health.
our
Is it
health
just a group?
department, we partner with Leelanau County.
Yeah, I know that.
Okay.
So I just out of curiosity, is it just coincidental that Manistee, the group they partner with for the health department, happens to have 10 different health departments? Or 10 different counties in it?
I think it is.
Yeah. I
That's
think
just a
it's
coincidence, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, because
And it's also called district cap.
Winnebago,
Yeah.
Macasta, Oceana, Mason, they're all together.
Yeah,
Lake.
okay.
Yeah.
That's the confusion.
So our-
We're talking CMH here.
Right, yeah, I'm understanding that
Ten?
there's an organization down in southeast Michigan that's going after this, trying to stop this from the state because of retaliatory issues. That's like, 3 CMHs in a couple counties doing it, or in a region. Then there's this one that Eric just referenced, in the south doing it. Then there's gonna be a third group in the north also litigating this as well. So there's
Okay,
gonna be this a lot of different agencies all going at the state, trying to stop them all at once. And they're also trying to get the legislators go in and stop it as well.
and based on something I was involved in recently, it sounds like they're willing to do that, the lawmakers. But for the lawsuit that we said we would be willing to sign on to, that lawsuit is being initiated by Central Wellness.
Central Wellness, NMRE, and some other CMHs in the north.
Oh, okay, so it's more than Central
And it
Wellness.
hasn't been filed yet.
Okay,
And there's more than just Central Wellness. So there's several CMHs in the NMRE region signing on to it.
okay, I'm not as confused, thank you.
Like that $65.
Any public comment?
Oh,
Hearing none, I'm gonna close public comment and I would look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.